Today we're going to take our YouTube diamond play button and see if we can use it to cast a solid candy play button in as clear of candy as we can get. Not long ago we made this diamond play button mold and we've been trying to think of the best things that we can cast in it, and one of the ideas we came up with is to try and make the whole thing look like a diamond rather than just the one triangle in the center. And so we thought maybe we can cast that in hard candy. We've done some cool hard candy stuff before. We've made Pokeballs with Pokemon in them. We've made an Iron Man helmet. And we think now it's time to see if we can make a candy diamond play button. The idea here is pretty simple. We're gonna whip up a big old batch of our candy recipe, see if we can tinker with it a little bit to make sure it stays a nice clear color, and then cast it in our diamond play button mold. We're going to be using a slightly different recipe than we've used for candy in the past. Before, our recipe consisted of sugar, corn syrup, and water. But there is a downside to that, and it's that if you don't add any food coloring, it usually ends up turning a little bit yellow. Today we're using a different recipe that doesn't have quite as much of that problem. It uses Splenda, sugar, and corn syrup with no water. The recipe is 2/3 cup Splenda, 1/3 cup sugar, and 1 cup corn syrup. We're gonna do a double batch here, so single batch is 2/3 cups. We're going to do 4/3 cups. Single batch is 1/3 cup, but because we're doing a double recipe, 2/3 cups. And now we need 2 cups of corn syrup. Well, there are more bubbles than I was expecting, and it's yellower than I was hoping for, but we're just gonna pour it into the mold anyway and see how it turns out. All right, let's take a look at what we've got so far. I thought that I was making enough of this recipe that I could fill the mold about halfway, and then I also thought that the recipe I had would turn out quite a bit more clear than this, and that I could just let it sit for a bit and end up with fewer bubbles. And I was wrong on all 3 of those points. And this is after doing a fair bit of research on how to make this work. So clearly I need to do some more research and we'll try something else again. Our sugar layer seems to have hardened quite a bit, so we'll see if we can pop it out and what sort of texture we have. I'm guessing one with a lot of bubbles. Well, it got the shape really well. As you can probably see though, the surface is just completely covered in bubbles, like everywhere. I do still think it's gonna be possible to get this whole thing as one solid clear block of sugar. I may need to use a different type of artificial sugar. There's something called isomalt that I know is often used for this, so might have to try getting my hands on that. All right, well, apparently I am terrible at making things out of isomalt because this was supposed to be clear and instead it's, well, completely opaque, more than any isomalt has ever been opaque ever. So I need to call in an expert. Callie?
Yeah?
Callie? I'm not good at isomalt.
That's, oh, hang on.
Help. Actually, this doesn't even taste good.
I've worked with isomalt a lot, so I have made it clear many, many times. I didn't actually know it could do this. So this is fascinating.
Me neither.
It's a lot simpler than people make it out to be. Really, it comes down to clean tools and exactly one ingredient, isomalt. If you want it clear, you're not worrying about adding food coloring or flavoring or anything else. You just need the isomalt itself, and then you just need to make sure you keep everything clean. It's that easy. So I will clarify on one thing. Even the instructions on the backs of these will sometimes tell you to add a couple tablespoons of water to about a cup of isomalt and melt that down. You can, especially if you're adding food coloring, you'll still get a pretty decent result, but it's still gonna turn out a little bit cloudy or it won't be perfectly clear. You're gonna get a yellowish tinge with tap water. Now, if you use distilled water, you'll have better results, but honestly, you can just melt isomalt on its own, which is what makes it so unique. Even from sugar, from all of the other things that makes it different, the clarity of it is the main thing. But the fact that you can just melt it down on its own and you can get beautiful results is kind of what makes it so special.
Let's try it.
All right, let me show you what you do. Perfectly clean metal pot. This is non-stick, and then I've got 2 new clean spatulas that Nate has never stirred anything or burned anything with. Nice. Turn it to medium. We're gonna start at 20 minutes, medium heat. So once it hits a certain level of heat, I think it's close to the hard crack stage for sugar, it will discolor. No matter what, there's no saving isomalt if you burn it. You leave it on a medium heat, you don't need to worry about it not dissolving correctly. What's gonna happen is it's gonna melt from the bottom. You can tip it gently. You don't wanna stir it because of those bubbles. You don't wanna really mess with it too much. All we're gonna use the spatulas for is to poke any of the stuff that hasn't fully melted down to the bottom. Once it looks nearly done, we'll turn off the heat. 40 minutes, I say we're gonna be good to go. So, I mean, we can compare. Do you want to hold this next to your diamond plate?
No, let's just pour this in and then we can compare my failure to your success later.
So that's probably gonna take, I would say, 7 hours. I'm probably gonna let it cure at least. So you might as well just leave it overnight. And then it should be nice and hard and it should be clear. And then we take it out, we just melt those bubbles off and we'll be good to go. There are bubbles, and you can definitely see bubbles at the top. Guys, we've got a clear piece of candy here. That was a very good sign. Okay, a little bit of discoloration and a lot of bubbles, but it could be worse, and we can actually get rid of these. Guys, we learned so much about this. Namely, you can't put sugar in a silicone mold.
Hot sugar bubbles on contact with silicone. It's pretty much unavoidable. We even tried making some other types of molds, but those, like I made one out of thermoplastic, but thermoplastic isn't gonna hold up to hot candy being poured into it. It would just melt again. And so in the end, what we did is we did use the diamond play button mold, and then we just blowtorched over the surface to smooth it out.
This one is obviously the correct size, but gosh, the bubbles are bad.
So we've just got so much candy here. This one was pretty good, except that it's too thin, and we let it solidify all the way. And once it's solidified and it's a separate batch, like you're never gonna get the color just right, it's not gonna laminate perfectly to it, and so we would have a gap there forever, and we really wanted like the right thickness all the way through, same color. Got one here that ended up being a little bit too dark. You can see it is red if we hold it up to a light, but if you're not holding it up to a light, it kind of just looks black. And we tried pouring another layer of molten sugar over it to see if that would get rid of the bubbles.
The drips.
Here's the pour lines off to the side. It did not get rid of the bubbles like we hoped it would.
Now, the isomalt, actually, I think if we hadn't been using a silicone mold, would have been our best bet. The problem is, isomalt over a long period of time, and the fact that we've had it above the stove so it's been steaming up, went opaque again. However, you can see where we took a blowtorch to it, and the nice thing about isomalt is, unlike sugar, when it heats up, it stays beautifully clear. It doesn't caramelize at all. Well,
you can burn it if you go too hot.
But it doesn't caramelize and turn like yellow.
Guys, thanks for watching. You know that's not all. We've always got more for you to see. The box at the top is going to take you to our last video. You should go check that out. The other box shows you what YouTube thinks you should be watching next. If you hit this bomb here in the middle, you'll be subscribed to the channel, and that way you're never going to miss out on a cool video. Don't forget to ring the bell, and we'll see you in the next one. Talk to you then.